bring me on. Let's remove the tomato. Or let's remove that tomato. We'll kill the music. Hit the comments. Here we go. We're good. So the question came up from one of my friends, and maybe this fits in with today. Maybe it fits in with everything that we do, and I'm sure it really does, including that what gives us our own motivation to go and do, what motivates other people. How does this whole thing work? How does it all completely fit in with each other when we help others and we expect, maybe that's not really the right word, but if somebody says they're going to do something, we assume, not expect, we assume they're going to do it. Well, sometimes that's a bad assumption, isn't it? Sometimes maybe we think people are going to be doing more than what we assume people are going to do, what we do, and some of us just kind of go overboard with that whole issue of things. All right, let's get to it. So we've got some friends of ours. You know who they are. They will just bend over backwards for you. You know, one guy said to me, said that he knew that should it situation arise and he needed a ride somewhere at 2 o'clock in the morning, that he could call. I was like, man, look at our brand, right? I was like, I didn't know I fell into that category of the 2 o'clock in the morning phone call, and you can do that. But I thought about that afterwards. I was like, you know what? He's right. I would. Didn't know he thought that way. I wonder what gave that impression, that it wasn't some offer I would make. I didn't just come out of the blue and say, oh, yeah, I'll pick up 2 o'clock in the morning no matter what. Just kind of knew. There are friends of ours that we all have. You just know that they're there for you. If they say they're going to do something and they're going to do it. And that's great. That is a great group of people to have surrounding you because they are your true supporters. You've got to ask yourself, why is that? Why are people so excited about helping you achieve your goals? Why do people look to assist you, mentor you, train you, teach you, do for you without you even asking, without even bringing the whole thing up? Happy Peace Day. That's a beautiful thought there, Alex. Hopefully today is a peace day, and maybe this is the well, whatever. It's a weak connection. Connect anything with anything. Gosh, gotta love improv comedy. Everything's a connector, even if it's a little loose. It connects. But let's stay on focus here, right? You are the one who kind of a person that likes to give to everybody. Why'd you do that? Really, truly. You got to ask yourself, why do you do that? Are you just looking for someone to pat you on the back all the time? And you just do it because you want the recognition, you want the ribbons, you want the banners, you want the hats, you want the trophy. You know something? That's not the healthiest way of going through life. Because now all you're doing is getting maybe not superficial recognition. You're getting real recognition because you really help somebody. But for you, how deep of a feeling is that? To go, oh yeah, I did something and I got a ribbon, I got a pin, I got a banner, I got a trophy. Granted, it's nice getting those things, but it's much more meaningful if you're doing something that you really want to do and you're doing it for reasons maybe internally that that other person doesn't know, maybe not aware of, maybe not even going to ask you about, but you just do it. You do it because that's who you are. You can find those friends, those supporters. Now all of a sudden, they will show up all the time because they're not just looking for recognition, a photo op, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. They're looking for something for themselves. And I think that really is what it comes down to, and how you can rely on other people and who you can rely on. If you understand that they are doing it because they truly are a nice person, they truly are someone who gives, or they are just doing it because they want to see their name up there someplace and their name recognized somewhere. Granted, It is an interesting balance on those two, without a doubt. It really is. Hey, look, sometimes we do things because we just really like the other person and like, "Oh, I'm just gonna do it for the sake of doing it." Sometimes we do something just because it's fun and different. I'm a big proponent of that one. It's fun and different. Am I doing things because of that other person, or am I doing things because of me? Because I like doing things that are fun and different. Well, sometimes it's that fun and different. It's not necessarily the other person. Sometimes you might feel indebted to another person. That might be it too. But understanding, but that's all the internal side of things. So here, let's go with thought processes, complete and clear thought processes. One, don't do anything you don't want to do. It doesn't do you any good. And it might do the other person a little bit of good, but ultimately, long run, not going to happen. Which goes into where this whole thing came up. You tell somebody you're going to do something, right? I don't mean attend an event or something like that. We all do that. Yeah, oh, yeah, I'm interested. Means you're not going. You're going means you're most probably going. You're going and you share the event, you're going. Okay. So we understand that language, that Facebook event planning or event attending language. That's it. Talking about real life, face to face kind of thing. You're going to do something for somebody else that you really don't want to do. You better really understand that you are making a commitment to doing that. Commitment to doing that. Because something's going to come in the way of it. Always does. Always does. And then what do you do? Because if you're not really committed to going, if you say that you're committed to going, I mean, there's a few things are going to happen. You are definitely going to let that other person down because you told them you were going to go. You told them you're going to help with it, and then you are not doing it. That's not good. Let's assume you do go because you feel obligated. Here's your big word of the day, obligated to go and do it. What's going to happen when you get there? You're going to resent the fact that you're there. Maybe not on the face of it, maybe not even there. Let's assume you're good. You're not even gonna resent the fact that you're there, at that place, in that moment, with that person. When you get home, that car ride home, you're like, I really wish I didn't do that. I really wish I went to some other thing. I really wish I stayed home that night to rest or spend time with somebody or do something a little bit different. You wanna know something? If that other person was astute, probably gonna realize that. Maybe they don't even realize it that day, but they realize it afterwards when they call you up and say, "Hey, thanks for coming. Thanks for helping me out." And you say something to the effect of, "Yeah," and that's that. And just leave it at, "Yeah." That's not too good. But if you really want to be there, there's a lot more you're going to say than "yeah." So who you fooling? Who you fooling? You're fooling yourself a little bit on that one because you really should be focusing on what really is important to you. And it could very well be that other person really that important to you that you will just do something because of that person. And that's all well and good. That means that that aspect of it or that focus, that priority is high enough that you're willing to give up something else. You know that you very well may give up something else for that to happen. That's good. That is fine. There's nothing at all, wrong with that. But don't tell somebody you're going to come and don't come. That's bad for everybody. Bad for you, bad for them because they're not, they're relying on you to do something. So make it work that way. But the question is, that's the internal side of things. You going outward, right? Your activity, you're saying yes, you're saying no, you're explaining why or not explaining why. That I think would probably depend upon the relationship that you have with that person as to how much you're going to get into the why you're not going to do something. Might even get into the relationship with that person about why you would do something. I like doing things because they're different, right? but I've stated that. Stated that clearly in two different occasions. I clearly stated that. One was one was a interesting one. I still go back and forth on this, whether I should have put more effort into it, but I don't think so. Actually, the answer is no. Thinking about it yet one more time. But I do wonder. But I know the answer was no. I was asked to be the sports announcer for a radio show. Sports announcer. And I said yes. I said yes clearly and confidently because I like doing things that are different, new and exciting. I thought that would be fantastic to go do. What an experience it would be being on radio on a regular basis, talking about or reporting. And there, this is where the line was, in the sand for me. But I thought I was reporting on different scores, baseball, football, whatever else was coming up. But the answer was no. It wasn't that. After I got through my, oh yeah, I'll try something different. I then called that person back and said, look, I really appreciate the opportunity, but I can't fulfill the need of you, and I respect you that much that I don't want to put that segment into any kind of an awkward positioning and have it come across that I wasn't really sincere. And the reality is that I was very sincere about doing radio. I think that's pretty clear amongst everybody. I was very clear about that. Really love that idea of the microphone time, but I couldn't talk to talk. Couldn't talk to talk. And that was what the requirements, unwritten, but still more the requirements, were for that banter back and forth. So I said no. Disappointing to me? Yes and no. Yes, because I gave up an opportunity, but no, because I knew it was not the right opportunity. That's where we're at. For the other person, actually, I don't know. I never really asked. I didn't get the phone call back a week later convincing me to do it. So obviously, I tend to think it was the right answer for that person too. But sometimes saying no is the right thing to do. In that case, it absolutely was. But being forthright about why you're doing something really makes sense. And here's my segue into the racing. You know how to make that right. We saw racing again this week for the next couple of weekends. And that is, I really didn't know anything about drag racing until that. So they were looking for a volunteer. And when I responded to that, I volunteered to do the announcing. When I responded to that, I went back to that original opportunity to do the sports. And I was very, very clear right up front. Said, look, my knowledge of drag racing, of the terminology, of the cars, engines, all the rest of that stuff, it's just not in my head. It's not. Happy to do it. Love doing different things. Comfortable with the microphone. But you should know. And they're like, no problem. All the information's in front of you. You're just reading off the numbers that are there. Okay, I could do that. Again, working through, I got another opportunity where I'm working with a script, a full script that I got to stick to 100%. I could do it. Just got to keep the tongue and keep my own thought processes to myself and just stick with the script. So I was like, okay. I mean, I could certainly do that, and I did that, and it opened up all kinds of doors. So is it the right thing to do to explain that out to maybe talk them out of my role? And the answer was, I think so. And here's the takeaway on that. Again, it gave them the total framework of my level of knowledge of where I'm at, why I'm doing it, the rest of that. I'll bring the enthusiasm, but they have to bring the content. Hopefully that's changed a bit over the last, since this whole season, 2022 racing. That I've picked up the knowledge, picked up the terms. I could add a little bit more to the equation. And I thank so many people for helping me along the way. We're doing that, and we're doing that. So that's good. So here's the thing for you, going back to those that you asked to help out. Yeah, Alex, you're right. The truth will definitely set you free. And this is where that goes, is that should somebody ask you to do something, you should be really clear as to why you will or why you won't do it. Say, look, this is not exactly my thing. If you have somebody that could be better at it, by all means do that. No hurt feelings at all. But I'm going to do this for you, and I'm making a commitment to you. I'm going to do this for you because of you, flat out. I'm doing this because of you. And you want to know something? Here's what happens there. Besides that authenticity, sincerity, all the rest of that kind of stuff, is that you have now laid the foundation for what that relationship is for helping others, volunteering, and doing that. That other person might run across somebody at some point in time that maybe they haven't thought of that actually would be much better suited for that role than you are. And you know, you give it up, you know what? And if you were completely honest and sincere, and you made your comment, and they give you a call, say, look, I know I asked you to do this, but I did find somebody else that really wants to do it, and they got a little bit better, different experience, better connection with the audience, whatever it might be, and they go that route. That's not bad because you've done something there that's really, truly special. You took the pressure off of your friend by saying yes and telling them exactly where they're at. You also gave your friend the opportunity to find somebody that would have a little bit more experience with it. But and maybe they did speak to somebody, they couldn't make a commitment to it because something else might come up. And that's how they phrased it. But you now became the safety net. And those safety net people, fantastic. They really are. Hey, if I need you in a crutch, you would be able to do it. That's one way of phrasing it. Nice it the way the other way. But those are great people. And those people, you know that you can absolutely rely on. The other, maybe, maybe not. You know, you can't rely on them and you got to do something. You got to find somebody who's right there. It may not be perfect for it, but, you know, truly right there. So when you're having a conversation and somebody volunteers to do something, ask them for real, you know, hey, you know, I could use your help doing this whole thing. And they're like, oh, yeah, I. As that breakdown of sentence structure comes in, you're like, oh, do they really want to do it? You know, and you ask them flat out, say, look, you know, I really appreciate this and, you know, doing it, but you're doing it just because you're a friend, you know, and you really don't want to do it. Just let me know up front. Let that person know up front. And maybe that's where this whole thing came from is that we're not giving people an out as quick as we possibly can when they offer to do something. Not an unsolicited offer, that's different. But if you ask somebody, yeah, somebody gives you a phone call, like, hey, you know, can you help me out? You're like, oh, well, you know, not really, but it helped me, and I best say yes. And you say yes. If you're astute, the person asks, if you're really astute, you're going to hear that hesitation in the voice. Think of it as like it's a sales call. You're going to hear that hesitation in the voice. Address it. Address it. Because you don't want the situation that came up, and this was with somebody else, where it came down to it was a no-show, and you're relying on the person. That's bad for everybody. That's really bad for everybody. I don't know exactly what the scenario was over there. I didn't ask, and whatever it was, you know, it's done. Not showing. You want to tie that in with brand? You want to tie that in with your personality? You want to tie that in with how you feel? It's not good if you let a friend down. You don't let a friend down. You're better off telling them up front, being totally honest as to where that goes. That friend's not going to rely on you again, you know, either. That friend might be asked by somebody else, and look, I got this situation coming up. I need a referral. You're going to be on top of mind? Probably not. And if you are, you're probably not on top of mind for good reason. Don't mess that up. Don't mess it up. It takes so long to build a reputation, so long to build a brand. Make sure you protect that brand by being very upfront. right smack in the beginning with what it is that you are willing to do and not willing to do. Turn this whole thing around. What do we got? We got another 10 minutes or so. Let's turn the whole thing around here. How do you find people? How do you find people? How do you know who the right person to connect with on something is? How do you find somebody that you want them to volunteer for something? They just don't know it. They don't know you from a hole in the wall. They don't know what you're talking about. You could tell them your name, you could tell them the scenario, and they still don't know what you're talking about. How do you get them to do something? Well, that sounds like manipulation. Not what I'm talking about. Forget about manipulation. But how do you get somebody to volunteer, to give you their time? Maybe that's the volunteer time, right? How do you get somebody to volunteer to sit down, give you some time to listen to your proposal? Yeah, you could change this around with a sales pitch, right? How do you get somebody on the phone or on a Zoom call to answer the door or to answer an email or a LinkedIn request or anything without without them knowing you? Yeah, you could always ask. I agree with you, Alex. You know, asking is always something, but quickly when you ask or when you share whatever that thing is to reference something in their profile, something you know about them, something about their own objectives that can be satisfied as you continue on with yours. Now all of a sudden, you've got the what's in it for me category covered. Even if you're off a little bit, it still shows that you're thinking about the other person and they'll listen. And that's first and foremost. I meet people a lot, sharing different thoughts, ideas, see if they get involved in different things. First things first is why do you do what you do? What is it that motivates you to do, whether it's a business thing, a charitable idea, free time, anything like that? What is it? What is it that you're trying to achieve? What is it that you really want to do? And if an opportunity comes up on my side to help you achieve your goals and it's symbiotic with mine, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Again, real life example on this one. Early stages, not going to use any specific names or anything like that, but looking at the vocational stuff, but also internships. Let's move it up a little though. In vocational programs in high schools, now we get a chance to expose our students to what is possible, what careers are like in various industries. Well, after they go, oh, that sounds exciting, then there's the reality of it. Yes, there is a reality to following career paths that just sound so good that there's no downside. Well, there's always downside with everything that we do. There's always give ups on everything that we do. Always, always. Greatest example of that one, is the professional speakers, right? You remember, I speak with a number of professional speakers, and this one guy is the extreme one, so I'll use him as the example. His name is Mike Pierce. Mike Pierce, Antarctic Mike. So Mike does presentations, professional speaker, does executive coaching, things like that. But he does the professional speaker. He has a story, great guy, all the rest of that stuff. So forget about the process of establishing the credibility to become a speaker. Let's just skip all of that. Let's just go for the good stuff. Hey, you're getting paid as a top-notch speaker. You're a number one speaker. They're flying you all around the world because you are worth it. You're getting paid thousands upon thousands of dollars for an hour presentation. You think, hey, man, now that's an hourly rate I could live with. That's a paycheck that sounds good to me. That's a service I could stand on a stage for an hour and give a speech and be a motivational speaker. That's great. That sounds fantastic. That is just fantastic. That is not the whole story, though. That is definitely not the whole story. See, the whole story with being that professional speaker and getting paid thousands of dollars for a 1 hour speech means that you have to travel all around the world to do that. Means you have to be at these events, not the day of the event. You need to be there a day in advance of the event, maybe two, if it's one of these hard to travel to places. So you're not getting paid for the hour. You're getting paid for the 2 days, the 3 days travel time that you're away from home. You're also getting paid for the research that you're doing to make sure that your standard speech, and mostly the professional speakers have a standardized speech, but you still have to adapt that speech to your specific audience. You better know your audience. So you got to spend the time, energy, and effort in researching your audience, making sure that you know your audience, making sure that you know the goals of that seminar, goals of that company, the goals of your 1 hour after lunch speech when everybody's kind of dragging through, getting back from eating a full meal. And like, oh, now we got to sit through another 4 or 5 hours worth of presentations. Now you're the motivator. You need to get them revved up again. You need to get them engaged again. You need to get their mindset going again. You need to get their whole bodily function away from lunch, away from answering emails, back to that thing. That's not 1 hour's worth of time that you spent getting paid. There's a lot that goes into it. Pick a vocation, any vocation. You want to be a professional, anything. You get paid by one thing, the value you provide is another. That's what you're really, really getting paid on, the value side of it. That becomes much tougher. And how do you gain experience to that value side of it? Internships. Internships. Now, how do you propose the idea of internships in places that are a little bit not expected to be an internship? You got to start with their point of view and then go your route. It's always that. That's how you can get things done. Always look at it that way. Always look at it that way. If you're asking your friends, business associates, even coworkers to help you out with something, to take on a new project, do something like that, pursue some idea, whether it's a crazy idea or something that's a little bit more standard. How do you become a great leader? It becomes all the same thing. All of it is the same thing. Recognize the other person for who they are, for what they do, recognize their skills, and to make the thing really work, you need to build a team. And that team building aspect of it is by understanding what skills that other person has and bringing them in as part of the team, as part of the effort. It's building a team. And if somebody asks you to help out with something, they are building a team, whether they know it or not. And you can make your own decision on that. But more importantly, if you're asking somebody to help you out on something, you are a team builder. Even if your team is just one and that other person, you're a team builder. Approach it with the idea that what's in it for them? What skill set do they have that you really can use in order to do what that they could really highlight, that they could show everybody and show off with what they're doing? Maybe they do get a ribbon, a banner, a trophy for it. That's good. Because now you know everybody's there for absolutely the right reason, not just to do a favor, not just because I got free time or something like that, but because there's a mutual win on all sides. And then that spills over into the audience and referrals and everything else that goes along with it. The next time you ask somebody to do something for you, make sure you give them an out. And if they still want to do it, make sure that you're really clear as to why you're asking them. Not just because, but because of some skill set that they have. And they're going to have much more buy-in with the whole thing. They have much clearer set an idea of what the objectives are and how to go about doing that. That, my friends, creates a great beneficial relationship for everybody. That's what it's all about. That's how we build teams. That's how we ask people to do different things, not for us, but with us. That's where it all goes, and that's where opportunities really get to be fully utilized to meet our objectives. One of my objectives is to speak well, speak often, and live inspired. I hope that's one of yours as well. So do that. Speak well, my friends. Speak often and live inspired. Do it for everyone. Have a great day. There we go. Rock music. Boom.